One of the things that I would like us to explore this morning is the topic of trust or faith, whichever word you wish to use. And I want you to understand that your understanding of that word trust is based upon your human experience with other human beings who obviously have broken your trust from time to time. And I don't blame you for wanting to be full of defense and assurance in your mind that somehow you need to protect yourself in relationships. But one of the things that we're missing in our world today is exactly that whole understanding of trust. And whether it be information that is now on the internet, or whether it be information that is conveyed in other ways or means, people are beginning to question their sense of critical thinking and their understanding around what it is that we mean when we say we trust somebody. Now, before I get into that topic, let's just look at the passages that are provided for you today. I really love this story in Genesis. It's a really, truly beautiful story. Abram, who comes from Ur of the Chaldeans, has found his way to a new and promised land. He is being called by God to leave the familiar for the unfamiliar. He's been asked to restructure a whole new society by different values than the one that he grew up in, the Ur of the Chaldeans. He is expressing himself in a covenant act with his God, who he trusts. And notice Abram's response when God offers him a promise of a lifetime, a space and a place to practice his faith, a place and a space to which he can create this alternative community. He says, how is this possible? I go childless. And then at one point, God says to him, look to the stars of heaven. Count them if you can, for so your descendants will be. Abraham has no proof. He has no way of knowing if his trust is earned. And he acts into an act of covenant which is very oriented to the Canaanite origin of the time, where you take animals that are divided in half and you cross between the pathway with a fire that breathes at the end, and you make your covenant to the great divine. And Abraham enacts this, falls into a deep sleep, and wrestles with his conscience because he cannot believe that God would do this, would pick him out of many other people to found a nation and a people. Abram is astonished, and he wants proof, but does not have proof, and still trusts Yahweh to deliver. That's what made him righteous. That's what put him in a right relationship with his God, because somehow he knew instinctively, whether he would live to see it or not, that his birthright would be fulfilled. Now in Philippians, we have a different context. Paul is under house arrest, and he's writing to the congregation in Philippi. Now, Philippi is a Roman colony of retired Roman soldiers. That's where they go in their retirement. And it is there that Paul has started a church, and he's writing to them at this time. He's talking to them about a variety of things. But one of the most important things that he talks about is walk your life as though you know that God is coming. Live your life based on the values that you hold to be true. Don't do what others have done, in this case, some who have been of Jewish origin converted to the Christian faith, who revert back to some of their rituals and their laws. And don't be confused by the Gentile population who feel that they can eat and drink and live their life the way they want. Listen to the values that I have brought to you. Live by them, and don't be enticed to follow into their rhythmic pattern of life. Trust me. Trust what's been given to you. Live it authentically. And finally, in the Gospel of Luke, a story you're all familiar with, just to tell you simply this. Herod Antipas is aware of Jesus. He is fearful for his rule. He's out to arrest Jesus. Jesus, of course, receives word about this, and he calls Herod a fox, which is the equivalent of swearing. And he says, not today, not tomorrow. I cannot die here. My destiny is in Jerusalem, and that is the hill I choose to die on. But it will not be today. It will not be here. All right, journey toward trust. One of the first points I want to share with you today is simply this. Abram takes God by the hand and lets him lead him to a land that he's unfamiliar with. God permits him to go with him to a place that he will entrust to him. Now, one of the problems that I have with this particular passage is that we seem to think that God gave to the people of Israel land, which even to this day they are fighting with the Palestinians over. I would prefer you to look at it in a different light. Instead of seeing it as a promise to land, it is a promise to a place or a space where Abraham can implement an alternative society based on alternative values. And one of the first things about trust you need to know is that God is also leading you to a place or a space where you can live by different values. You are His. He loves you. And He wants you to give the evidence of His reality to a broken world. But you can't do it in a place where you are familiar. You have to be lifted up and taken to a place of unfamiliarity. You have to go on a journey, and you have to allow yourself to place your life in His hand. Now, if I may use the example of my own life, I was born and bred in Kitchener, Ontario. That's my home. But I haven't been home for 33 years. And my home was Delia, Alberta, Craigmile in Youngstown. Then my home was in Whitecourt, Blue Ridge. Then my home was in Redwater, Thorhill, Davie. And now my home is in Bonnyville. And in each journey, I've had to go to a different community. I've had to learn from a different group of people. And I've had to learn my way of being who I am as evidence to the light of God for them. And all of them are very different. All of them have different issues, different concerns from you. Each congregation is unique. The other day I was with Wainwright for a better part of the day. That's why I'm so tired this morning. Because I'm trying to help them to look for a new minister. And I'm trying to help them to define what it is that they're searching for. They too have to place their hand in God as they search. I too place my hand in God every time I end a ministry and begin a new place where I start. And where I go, I cannot return. I can only come for a while and build the alternative community that I see fit based on the values that I believe God has called me to. Now that's a minister's perspective, but let me broaden it to your perspective. Your life is not set in stone. Your life is not just where you live, the address that you hold, the house that you own. You live for the future. You live for some purpose. And God has created a place and a space for you to inhabit so that you can change the dynamics of this world. But if you remain comfortable with where you are, and you cannot seem to move,